Hello, my name is Prokopis Skordis and I'm the creator of the SFS series of courses and lessons. And I want to welcome you to part 2 of the SFS Fretboard Secrets mini course. If you missed the previous lesson, you can still follow along, but it might be better to use the navigation on this webpage to get to part 1 first. Or even better, if you haven't already, go ahead and get the complete free mini course using the link below. By the way, I want to thank everyone who liked and shared part 1 and gave me some feedback on it. I always enjoy hearing from you and answering questions. Today we're going to apply the string fragment system to learn an extremely easy and quick way to play the Dorian mode. But before we get started with our lesson, I want to remind you to pick up the 2 free gifts that I have for you if you don't have them already, using the links below. One of them is the very popular Fretboard Memorization Toolbox, and as I already mentioned, the other one is the complete SFS Fretboard Secrets mini course, which includes lesson videos, diagrams, backing tracks, and some other bonus material. Just use the links below to get lifetime streaming and download access to these courses. And now let's get to our lesson. By this time, you're probably beginning to understand the potential of SFS. It's a system that can help you improvise everywhere on the fretboard in a very short time. It still takes practice, but the string fragment system is such an effective approach that you see progress after every practice session. Those of you who tried what we learned in lesson 1 can probably travel the fretboard soloing with the blues scale in ways you couldn't before. And that happened in a matter of minutes. Today we'll do something similar. We will learn the Dorian mode, again using 3 string fragments. The Dorian mode is very useful, it sounds very cool, and it's an essential tool in every modern lead player's toolbox. Even if you can already play it, today you will learn how to be more creative in your soloing by being able to jump anywhere on the fretboard and improvise using SFS. By the end of the lesson, you will be doing something that usually takes ages to learn using traditional methods. So let's get to it. We will learn this in the key of A, just like we did with the blues scale in lesson 1. This will help you see the 2 options side by side, and in a later lesson we will learn how to combine them creatively. So let's go to the A on string 6. This is our first root note. Put your first finger there and play our first string fragment, which looks like this. Now I'm going to call this string fragment SF2 instead of SF1. That's because what I'm showing you today is a part of a bigger system that covers all 7 modes, and in that system the Dorian root note happens to be on the 2nd string fragment. And I don't want to confuse those of you that have worked on modes with me before. But if you're new to SFS, just bear with me and let's call this first string fragment SF2. So now we can already start improvising with these 3 notes everywhere on the fretboard by placing SF2 over any A on any string. If you don't know where all the A's are, there's a table in your PDF notes in the SFS Fretboard Secrets package that you can use until you learn them. Now at this point, you can use the A Dorian MP3 backing track that's also included in your package and start improvising with this. I know it's just 3 notes, but you can still get a lot out of it, mostly because of this ability to jump around. In my premium courses, we do this kind of thing a lot. We use a big list of improvisation ideas and work with just a few notes. This forces you to use your imagination and rhythmic variation and pay more attention to the sound of what you're playing. It's a very effective practice approach, but sooner or later you will need more notes, so let's add the next string fragment. We'll call this SF3A. Again, the name is not so important. I'm using SF3A because that's the name we use in my premium SFS modes course when we work on 3 note per string fingerings. But don't worry about the number. The numbers are temporary anyway. We just use them to communicate. As you practice this, the system becomes totally intuitive. You don't think about anything anymore. So let's just play. SF3A requires a small stretch. Some players prefer to use fingers 1, 2, 4. And others 1, 3, 4. Both options have their benefits, so use whatever you want. What's important is that now you can go to any A and play 6 notes. But there are a couple of things we need to notice. First of all, if we start on string 1, as you can imagine, we don't have an SF3 to go to because we ran out of strings. My students that are more skilled in using SFS would in this case build the system backwards and use this root note anyway. You see, in this mini course we can't cover everything, but we do learn some very useful soloing options using a limited number of string fragments, just 3. But the potential of this system is unlimited. More advanced players can use 7 string fragments for 3 note per string modes and can build the system in both directions, ascending and descending. This kind of ability makes you virtually unlimited in your fretboard navigation. But don't let that intimidate you. One cool thing about SFS is that you can take it just as far as you want and still get great results. You will still be miles ahead of many players by using just the material in this mini course. But I'm just trying to help you see the big picture. How far every individual wants to take this depends on their personal goals, the style of music they want to play, and so on. And don't forget that learning guitar is a lifelong journey, so it's nice to know what's available, even if you will get to it at a later time. But let's get back to our 2-string system. The second thing I want you to notice is the shift that occurs when we cross from string 3 into the top 2 strings. We did talk about this in the previous lesson, but it bears repetition. There's a discrepancy in the standard guitar tuning that makes this shift necessary. String fragments on the top 2 strings need to be shifted 1 fret up in relation to the bottom 4 strings. Let's add one more string fragment and you will see this even more clearly. This one is called SF3B and it looks exactly like SF3A, so it's very easy to remember. Again, we see that shift happening in 2 cases. When we map the system on string 4, and also on string 3. So now I will improvise going quickly through every possible root note so that you can hear what we learned today in action. And when we get back, I will address a few more points and we'll wrap up this lesson. Okay, now it's your turn to practice this. You can find everything you need in the SFS Fretboard Secrets package. But first, I need to address some questions that can come up at this point. Some of you may be wondering if you need to think about string fragments all the time, especially if you learn more of them. This seems complex to some people. After all, you don't want to be thinking about numbers like a machine when you create, right? Well, Well, SFS is not like that at all. The secret is to build this up gradually by spending some time with just one string fragment and then adding just one more for a while and so on. The whole thing gets into autopilot mode. You do it without thinking. That's how more advanced players have no problem at 7-string fragments. Using all 7, they play every imaginable box shape without ever learning it. Compare that to trying to memorize 7 cumbersome box shapes. How much does that take before it becomes transparent and automated? For most people, it just never happens. So anyway, I think that as you proceed through the rest of these lessons, the advantages of this approach will become even more apparent. In the next part, we will do something different. You will see a different aspect of SFS that is very exciting, but I won't tell you more about it because I want to build up some excitement and anticipation. So don't forget to like, share, say hello in the comments below, and when you're ready, I will see you in lesson 3.